I'd like to say good afternoon to all our brothers and sisters out there. Yeah, to all of our brothers and sisters out there in social media land. I'd like to say greetings to our brothers and sisters to our Israelite brothers and sisters, and to our Christian brothers and sisters, to our Islamic brothers and sisters, and to anybody, period, in general. Even to our brothers and sisters that don't know nothing about no Bible. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Captain Von Zale. Yeah, so I was going to come on here and I was going to give the brothers and sisters the opportunity to, as we stated on yesterday, after we done the video, that was based on the post that asked the question that if all of the pagan holidays was removed from the calendar, would there still be judgment? And many people said yes, but through the course of the videos, we always have people that don't get the right understanding of what's being said. So now is the opportunity. Shalom. Hey, greetings, Timothy Warren. That was beautiful what you just put on that post. And I didn't want to type, but I'm glad you're here because I can respond to your comment. And that comment that we just made on social media is I put the fact that when a man dies, he will not be remembered for the things that he said, but he'll be remembered for the things that he done. Our brother Timothy Warren came on there and said he should be remembered for the things he said as well as the things he done, just like the prophets were remembered for the things that they said. And that is a true statement. But when I'm looking at it through the eyes of the life that we are living, there's a line of distinction that ran between the prophets and the average people, because the prophets would be remembered for the things that they said because the things that they heard came directly from the mouth of the Most High, and those things were to be related to the people. And so all of the things that the prophet said was literally the Most High's word. According to us who believe in the Bible and believe in scriptures, that's what we believe. We believe that the things that came to the prophets were things that came through the voice of the Most High. So in that sense, Timothy Warren, you are absolutely right. But given the fact that in Hebrews chapter 1, it says God who at sundry times in different ways in the time that had passed, he spoke to our fathers and he used the prophets to do it. The prophets became his mouthpiece in the earth. And so that's for, if we was going to ever hear what the Most High had to say, we had to hear what the prophets had to say. And so the prophets' words were recorded. But however, when he ain't speaking to us by men anymore, so the vast majority of the things that men say will not be remembered because it is not the audible voice of the Most High that's speaking through the mouth of man in this day. So, but that was, I wanted to commend you for putting that post on there. That was a very good post. And, yeah, so I wanted to see how the brothers and sisters feel about it, because what we're trying to do is that when we go through these seasons right here, it's like all of the spotlight is now on paganistic and heathenistic things. They are man-made traditions that have absolutely nothing to do with the Most High, period. And though the Most High instructs us not to go in that area, there is a difference between us just simply making a choice to go into a different area versus us just outright blatantly, you know what I mean, entering into a place of sin. We had some of the other brothers that said, well, because I had told one of the brothers, he said, well, Christ is pagan and all these other things is pagan too. And I didn't mean no offense to the brother, but I said, well, you pagan too, because we're all pagan. You know why? Every time you break a law, you go back to being pagan. And here's the reason why. When we go to the book of Leviticus and we read the 19th chapter, let me show you why anybody that breaks a law, anybody that's not keeping the totality of the Most High's law, you become as paganistic as the brothers that's worshiping man-made holidays. Let me show you what I mean. But now this is the time that we're going to open up the floor, or open up the social media platform, so that brothers and sisters can come in here with their perspectives, with their questions, bring your scriptures, whatever it is that supports you, being able to pass judgment on your brother. Bring those things, and then that's what we want to deal with. See, when ain't nobody got no rock to throw, then we have to find another way to operate according to the Father's righteousness. But as long as we got rocks to throw, we ain't going to be operating. That's why the story is in the book, when they could have stoned the woman for adultery. They could have stoned the woman for the adultery. And this is the mindset of many of our brothers that have become a part of the religious constructs of this world. Okay? Now, you may be Hebrew Israelite by blood, but now it has also been kept up and made out in this hour. It has become another religious construct. It is no different. The community, of the so-called community of Israel, it is no more different than the construct of Christianity or the construct of Islam, because of the rocks, you see. And so when the Messiah said, okay, whichever one of you is without sin, you can throw the first rock. You see, it was two things in that story. The first thing in that story that struck me is, I said, well, okay, they got this woman here that committed adultery, but where's the man that she committed adultery with? Where was the man that led her into an adulterous factor? This is that one-sidedness. This is that side of us that want to be on one side and then tear the other pages out of the Bible. First off, there was no man there. He was supposed to be, they were supposed to have been throwing rocks at him too. But the Messiah said, whoever is without sin, you be the one to cast the first stone. And we are just using the holidays as an example. They are not, the holidays are not the embodiment of what's being talked about. So that goes for anybody that might want to come on and say that I'm condoning or I'm compromising the celebrating of heathenistic holiday. It ain't even about the holiday. I'm just using the example that people are putting out there. So, you know, so let me show you why you can become paganistic, even if you ain't never celebrated a holiday. Let me show you why. And anything that anybody got to do, because we're going to do this. We're going to do this on social media, and then we're also going to do it on YouTube too, because there are a lot of brothers that come in with these different perspectives and everything. We want to give everybody a right to their perspective, and we want to be able to hear. I mean, genuinely hear. Not for the sake of antagonization and not for the sake of casting nobody down, but we genuinely want to hear how people feel about specific things, because if we're going to grow, we must grow together. Ain't nobody going into the kingdom by themselves. And anybody that think you're going into the kingdom by yourself, you sadly mistaken. So the person that you hit with a rock and leave bleeding on the side of the road today, if he ain't going in the kingdom with you, you ain't going in the kingdom neither. Because that person with the bloody head from the rock that you just hit him with, he'll be the one standing at the gate that's preventing you from entering in, because that was your responsibility. So we'll have to find another way to get the points across and to reach the people that are in need of being reached. So let's go. We're going to read this right here. Let's pull this up. Because the average person, I can tell any Hebrew Israelite that they will not identify with the fact that they're pagan. Any Christian, they will not identify with the fact that they're pagan. Any Muslim will not identify with the fact that they're pagan. And we'll always use the things that men say that they believe in order to show them or point out the things that we're trying to, the points we're trying to make. Now, in this 18th chapter of the book of Leviticus, let's read the comment. Okay. Can you address the book of Joshua where it say, Canaanite city states? Where is it? Can you address the book of Joshua where it says Canaanite city states were destroyed? They say this to show where Hebrews get their language, religion, and way of life which is ultimately from Africa. Well, there is no doubt about that, brother. Because this is how you know, Timothy 1, and I've watched many people over the years fight with you and, make negative comments because of the things that you post, and I always try to stop them. You are absolutely 100% correct. And one of the reasons why it's like that is because through the different terminologies of this world have been put in for the sake of confusion. So example, to the brothers that's dealing or that want to understand that Timothy Warren is wanting to address of the book of Joshua, where the Canaanite cities were destroyed. And this is to show where the language and the religion and way of life came from, which ultimately came from Africa. Now, the Father's promise to Israel was the land of Canaan. That's what Timothy Warren talking about. This Joshua is going in there to destroy everything so that the 12 tribes can now occupy land that the Most High had given them. In the 9th chapter of the book of Genesis, it says, "Cursed be Canaan. Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and the borders of Japheth and his posterity shall spread throughout the earth." So because of the curse that came upon Ham, the son of Noah, his son Canaan would lose his land to the Israelites. And that land would be centered and geographically located in what is known as the land of the blacks. The land of the blacks, which through the terminology and the languages of this world, that land that was known as the land of the blacks was blanketed with a name that was called Africa. So many Israelites, they don't identify with the fact of being Africans because of the terminology. But to be an African does not mean that you are of Hamitic descent. You have the people of Hamitic descent, which is the Canaanites, the Ethiopians, the Cushites, and the Mizraim, the Egyptians. Those are the sons of Ham. Those are the Hamitic races. The Shemites are the Israelite races. But the Israel, being the youngest nation that was birthed into existence, did have land of its own because all of the land was already occupied. We went into Egypt, the land of the blacks, and incubated, and then came out as a nation. But we came out as a nation, but we didn't have no land. So the land of Canaan, which is geographically located in the land of the blacks, which people have misunderstood, that which is called Africa. They think that it means if you're African, that you're a Hamite. No, if you're Israelite, you are an African. And if you're an Israelite, you have a African culture, you have an African language, you have African history. African does not tie you with being a Hamite. African ties you to the land that was promised and given to our forefathers. And so, most cases when we use the word Africa, we are talking about Hamites. But that's the thing that got people confused, and that's the reason why the name was put there as a blanket anyway. Because Hamites and Israelites are both African because they reside and they live and they occupy the land of the blacks, which was called Africa. Same way in this United States, everybody here is not United States descendants by blood of the United States. The European man had no blood ties to the United States. The Negro, we don't have no blood ties to the United States. The indigenous people were here. The indigenous people in dealing with the what they call the Native American Indians and things of that nature. But these people are all from Hamitic descent, because when you start talking about the land of the blacks and the Egyptians and the Ethiopians, you're talking about the known rulers of the world. These are the ones that navigated the seas and navigated the world, and these are the ones that had access. These were the known rulers of the world. So those indigenous people were in all places, all over the world. But now, when you start looking at the Negro that came by way of slave trade, you start looking at the European man, you start looking at the Asian man that have migrated, you look at the Jewish man that have migrated, you look at all these different facets of people that have migrated to this country. They are not genetically tied to this country, but they are called Americans because that is the name that was put on this place. It was called America. And so all of the people that reside here, even though they don't have blood ties, they classify themselves as American. The Chinese American, the Japanese American, the European American, and that's kind of how it is with what our brother is talking about. Because many times people don't want to identify the Israelite. He can't identify with the fact that he's an African. I ain't no African. Well, you don't know who you are. You ain't no Hamite, but you are African. Yes. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. Get that food out the oven. So now we're going to show you why everybody's pagan. And there ain't no exceptions to this rule. We're going to show you why everybody's pagan. So there's been many games played on us as a people. There's been many games played on us as a people. It's proof how the Western historians have played down and have sought to control the African origin. That is right, Timothy Warren. I'm 100% in agreement with you. It is. Timothy Warren says it's proof of how the Western historians have played down and have sought to control Africa origin of the Jewish culture, and he is absolutely right. Absolutely right. They have played those things down through the use of languages. Yep. You say, Brian says, I got a story for you. Well, we sure want to hear it. Whatever you got to say, we want to hear it. Okay, so let me show you how the brothers, I want our brothers to understand how it is that you can become pagan. You can become pagan, and paganism is not just about worshiping the traditionary things of men that they done put on the world. This is Leviticus 18th chapter. Now, just for a brief cap off of it, Leviticus 18th chapter is dealing with the Levitical law. It's where the Most High start giving the Israelites all of their laws. Thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that, thou shalt not sleep with your mother, thou shalt not sleep with your father's wife, thou shalt not lay with your sister, thou shalt not lay with a man like you lay with a woman, thou shalt not prostitute thy daughters, thou shalt not do all. This is the chapter where you get all of these thou shalt nots, and this is what the end of it is. See, people don't understand why the law was given to them in the first place. You see, the Father didn't just give you the law just because he gave you the law. He gave you the law because as the youngest nation being birthed into existence, you was the baby coming into a world. But the Father had given a purpose that was different from all of the rest of the people on the planet. So he gave you the laws that were based on all of the things that the surrounding nations were doing. He took the laws, he took the things that they were doing, and then he constructed laws and said, okay, I know this is the custom. This is what the Egyptians do. So for my children over here, I'm going to tell them, don't do this, don't do that. This is what the Philistines is doing. So I'm going to tell them, don't do this, don't do that. This is what the other races on the planet are doing. So I'm going to tell them, don't do this and don't do that. This is where your laws come from. Your laws don't come from things that the Most High was just simply telling you not to do. Your laws come from things that other nations were doing that he didn't want you to do. So and at the end, it says, we're going to read at verse 26. You shall keep my statutes and my judgments And thou shalt not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew you not out also, ye defiled, when you defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the soul that commit them shall be cut off from amongst their people. Therefore you shall keep my ordinances, that you commit not any of these abominations, abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that you defile not yourselves therein, for I am the Lord. Now, so if you think that the only way you can be pagan or involved in paganism is worshiping a man-made holiday, you're way far off. Because any one of these thou shalt nots that you find guilty of committing, you go back into the pagan heathenistic customs of the people that occupied the land before our forefathers got it. So it's much different. It's much deeper than what people making it out to be. And that's why we're trying to tell brothers, you better be careful, because the things that we are uttering, we utter them before the eyes of the Most High. And he will bring a man into account for every idle word spoken. And so, okay, what we got? Okay, what we got? All right, I'm going to be the liaison. Anybody got anything they want to bring up to the forefront? Let's ask the question. Sure. Anybody got something they want to bring up to the forefront? Now that Christmas is over. Where the rocks at? So, yes, we are the descendants of those people that civilized the world. Yep, we definitely are. Yep. One of the reasons why the sons of Shem got sent into slavery is because of the intelligence that they had. They were the empires and the architects of this world. You see, when those European people got ready to try and purchase a people, they knew exactly who they was getting. They knew exactly who they was getting because they were aware of the empires that we had built. They were aware of the things that had been constructed. The Hamitic man was also aware of those things because of the land that the Most High had given us that belonged to their brother. We showed that we were different people by the things that we done. And we were able to do things that were different than our Hamitic brothers. We were able to construct empires that even back then we had lawyers, we had doctors, we had astrologers, we had every facet of an organization that exists in this day. It existed in that day. And it made our ancestors a peculiar people. You see? So when you start talking about the book of Joel, what have I to do with you, Tyrene, Zidon, the coast of Palestine? You taking my silver and my gold and my good and pleasant things and carried into your temple, and then the children of Judah, the children of Jerusalem, have you sold into the hands of the Grecians? You see, we were building empires and we were wealthy and rich on the land that the Most High had given us. And yet the Hamitic man began to rob and rape us for those things and then get us out so that they could assume the empires and all of the great things that we had done. It's like I'll make them my own. But at the same time, the European man who didn't come out of the caves until 500 years ago, you talk about the European man, he didn't have no knowledge whatsoever, because during the Dark Ages in Europe, it was that Shemite man that was lording over everything. It was that Shemite man that was putting down paved streets and lit streets and living in castles and everything while they were living in caves. They didn't have no knowledge and no understanding about government, about architecture, about science, arts, mathematics. They didn't have no knowledge about those things. So when they got to go and get a people, they would get the people that would be able, not only would be able to build their empire like the slaves did, they will also be able to teach them how to build empires. And so the European man have never had anything of his own, and that's why I tell people all the time, these are your children. They have been taught these things. And when you look at the modernized world, all of the things that the Europeans have made and built is because they have now assumed the power and the authority in the world. But that power and that authority is based on the knowledge that they knew not. It was based on the knowledge that they were taught. They were taught science. They were taught mathematics. They were taught astrology. They were taught how to build. They were taught architecture. You see? And so, all praises to the Most High for that. And all praises to the Most High. Thank you, Timothy Warren. Okay, anybody else? Anybody got anything? Because if y'all ain't got nothing, I ain't got nothing. I don't get the conversation that's going on here. I don't get the conversation. I don't get the conversation that's going on here. So it's a conversation going on that I don't even know nothing about. Okay, you said 2 Samuel 24. You got to get your verses up there, right? Is it 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 4? Okay, let's go there. Let's go see. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 4. Let's see here. What we got here? 2 Samuel. I said 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 4. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 4. I keep oh, there we go. Okay, let's see what 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 4 reads. Then the men of Judah came to Hebron, and there he anointed David king over the tribe of Judah. When David was told that it was a man from Jabez Gilead who had buried Saul. That's not giving us, I don't know where you're going with that. I need a little bit more detail. You said 24. 2 Samuel chapter 2, 24. Okay, let's go here then. 2 Samuel chapter 2. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 24. Okay, let's see here. Okay. And again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, go, number Israel and the children of Judah. I still need, so you're talking about watchmen. Okay, all right, I got you. You're talking about watchmen. So you're talking about how, okay, I don't have my Bible on hand. Okay, well, just in a small paragraph, give me an idea of where you're trying to go and what it is that you're trying to relate. What's going on, Brother Benny? Give me just give me a short paragraph of what it is that you're trying to relate. Or you trying to relate as is dealing with the judgment factor and being the watchman. Okay, that's good. Because we had some of the brothers, and like my young King Moshe came on and said, well, we supposed to be watchmen. We supposed to be watchmen, right? I got you. So, let's go. I'm trying to figure out which one of these do I want to pull out. Where do I want to go? Okay, let me simplify this. Now, if we went to Exodus chapter 18 and we read 3 through 5, it says, he said, I'm in error. How can I be in error? I'm not full. Well, apparently I ain't fully understanding what you're saying. You're not making what you're saying plain enough. But then again, I'd be the first one to put this confession out here. I don't know everything. I'm only going to be able to answer things that the Spirit allow me to do them. You understand what I'm saying? If it's something that the Spirit don't allow me to do, then that be what it be. But, you know, I can be in error. I'm not no perfect man. I don't know everything. Okay, I'll check your Facebook page later. All right, I'll do that. At least I can have a better understanding of what you're saying. I know today is not the Sabbath, but that is how I greet an elder. See, and that's, all these things that make our case, you know what I mean? We got our heads so stuck so far in the desert. You know, this stuff in the desert, how you going to be able to navigate through the 21st century when you can't get over the things that your forefathers and your ancestors was doing? And then the thing about that is that one of the things that we just have the hardest time in the world identifying with is that they was wicked as hell. They was wicked. They never lived up to their purpose. They never got to be the bridge between the Most High and the rest of the world that didn't know the Most High. It's something. And how we gonna relate this information to our brothers and sisters that they can understand that, I don't have no idea. I don't have no idea. But that's why we have. Oh, you say not me? Oh, okay. See, Brian, when you can, and I love to hear what you have to say, but there have been some times that I've seen on Facebook while we try to follow, and then I respond to something, and then when I go back and watch it, I see a brother say, well, I wasn't talking to you, Elder, I was talking to such and such, and I be to say something, and what I'm saying can be right in my understanding, but it don't fit to what I'm responding to because I ain't got a full comprehension of it. And so that's why, that's one of the things that I said, I'm going to stop being quick to respond because I want to know that the post that's on there, people are talking to me or people are talking about a specific thing. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, Timothy Warren. I am. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what that was. But like what I was saying, and even then, what I did see with Brother Brian that dealt with watchmen, I can still speak on that, even if it ain't, So I don't want you to understand, Brother Brian, that what I'm about to say on watchmen, it ain't based on what you brought in. I got to fully understand that before I comment on it. But I do want to use that fact that you brought in watchmen on there. So I was going to go to Exodus, and it told the children of Israel, if you hearken to my voice and obey my voice, indeed you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests unto all the nations, for all the earth is mine. That was the overall responsibility that was given to Israelites, that they would be to be the priests of the whole world. But when the Israelites fell, and then in Exodus, the Father had to extract from them one of the tribes to now be to the nation of Israel what Israel was meant to be to the world. So through the intercessory of the Levitical priesthood, the children of Israel will come to understand what their purpose was to the world. And so sometimes brothers say when we tell them about being hard on people, harping on people's sin, they come back with, well, the Most High made us watchmen and we stand up on our watch. It's all in the Bible. Yes, it is all in the Bible, but the watchman only existed as a means of Israel's failure to keep the Father's covenant. So he had to raise men up within the family of Israel that would become watchmen or supervisors or chaperones over them. But it was not originally meant to be like that. But see, now, when the finished work of Hamashiach and faith comes in, and you're restored back to your original purpose to be a kingdom of priests, now you become the watchmen and the chaperones and the supervisors of the entire world, of all the nations. Then when we start looking at it for what it really is, we see how great our purpose is. You know, we have a great purpose in this world, but we have to get past the point. You see, once he took the Levites, there was no longer men that was going to have to be chaperones for the men of Israel, because all of us have a God-given, God-ordained right into the things that were committed to us. But we spend so much time fighting back at each other and trying to get each other. Well, it's my job. I got to keep people in line. No, you ain't got to keep nobody in line. How about you go keep the person in line that you don't want to have no association with? How about you go keep the person in line or chaperone the Gentile that you say is going into everlasting damnation? If he goes into everlasting damnation, it's going to be because of your failure to become the intercessors or the priests or the chaperones of the world. And we can't fulfill those responsibilities until Israel come from amongst, arguing with each other, and each man as an individual understands his personal accountability to the Most High. Now, I just wanted to interject that in there. Okay, Brian Woodson, I'm ready. Yep. Yep. So we're gonna go forth, and I mean, listen. Sometimes, I tell people all the time, and I'm telling people all of the time, man, is that you will never be no more wiser than the way that you receive wisdom is that the Spirit brings questions into your mind. And then he sends you to seek out the answer. And once you've seeked out the answer, you become wiser. Because you know something that you didn't know. Hey, Mr. Chappelle. Yeah, you know something that you didn't know. But many times people don't want to ask questions. They don't want to ask questions because we have been nursed into this mindset. And it's a sick, twisted mindset that is all about being right or it's all about being wrong. Well, you know what? Let me show you something that you probably had never even thought about it like this. If you went back to being right and being wrong, let's look at what the Most High told Adam and Eve. He said, of all the trees in this garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. You see, Adam and Eve, they had everything that they needed. They didn't have no need for anything else. But they desired to eat from a tree. Many of our brothers are still eating from this same tree. It is the knowledge of good versus evil. That is where now you have a line of distinction that's drawn between two things that you try to make the choice based on them two things, but you don't have the ability to make a right choice or a wrong one. You see? Because some choices you can make trying to intentionally be wrong or wrong somebody, and they can turn out to be the best thing that happened to that person. And then there are some times that you can make what you think is a good choice based on where you think your life ought to be, and it can turn out to be a nightmare in somebody else's life. And so as long as we trying to understand or eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we got a problem. The video gonna pause for a second, but that don't mean I'm gone. Okay, so you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That means that we are trying to make all the right decisions. Okay, I read my books, I see what my books say, and I make my decision based on what my books say. But only come to find out that the decision that I make, it didn't prove to be as beneficial as I thought it would be. And when I was thinking about it, it seemed like the right thing to do, and I made the choice based on what I deemed was right. Only 2 months later, I found out that the choice I thought was right turned out to be the wrong choice, and I done enrolled in a bunch of unnecessary stuff in my life. So now I'm back. How do I fix a bad decision that I made based on what I thought was right. See, it's the same thing eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But see, the thing is that when the Spirit brings questions into your mind, then it sends us on a mission to seek out what the answer is. You see, and that is where the productivity of answering questions come from. Because, it ain't no such thing as a dumb question. I just think we don't have his son's name correct. Well, Andre Howard, let me show you something, brother. There ain't a person on the planet that has the son's name correct, because don't nobody know the son's name. Let's go to the scripture. He has a name that no man know. That's going to be Revelation chapter 19, verse 12. Now watch this. So I'm going to show you because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a little bit wiser so that we can stop wasting our energy. I don't know what kind would want his people without knowledge. So let's deal with that question. Okay, Revelation chapter 19, verse 12, it says, his eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man know but himself. We know that they're talking about Hamashiach, okay? Now, he said he had a name written that no man know. Now, let's go and look at another one, and then we're going to tie it up. Thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. That's going to be Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. Thou shalt call his name. And it say you shall call him. It said, you shall call his name. Whatever his name is, you're going to call his name Emmanuel. What you're going to attach to his name that don't no man know is going to give you a description of his character and the different facets or traits of what he came to do. Thou shalt attach to his name that no man knows, because no man knows his name. The Most High had to put things on the name that we don't know to make us identify with his character and what he came to do. Or he said, you attach Emmanuel to him, and Emmanuel means that God is with us. So even though you don't know his name, when I attach this particular name to his name, it will give you an understanding of what his name that you don't know represent. Okay, Emmanuel means that God would, thou shalt call his name. Let's look at another one. Thou shalt call his name Yeshua or Joshua. For it means the Lord saves. You still don't know his name. Thou shalt call his name. Whatever his name is, you're going to call his name Yeshua. And you're calling his name Yeshua so that you can be able to identify with the name that you don't know. Yeshua brings you into understanding of his purpose and his characteristics and what he came to do. He came to save his people from his sins. We go to the book of Isaiah. Thou shalt call his name. His name shall be called Prince of Peace. It don't mean his name is Prince of Peace. You don't know his name. But they're going to attach to his name Prince of Peace so that you can understand another facet of his character. That he shall bring peace between the Most High and man by being an intercessor on our behalf. He shall be called Mighty God. That means because I and the Father are one, and all power is given into my hands. I and the Father are one. Therefore, another facet of him that you're going to come to understand because you don't know his name is that his mighty God will be attached to his name and become the embodiment of who he came to represent. His name shall be called Mighty God. That means that he had the power on earth to do things that were outside of the realm of humanity. And we came in contact with that facet of his greatness by what his name was called, Mighty God. Everlasting Father. Thou shalt call his name shall be called Everlasting Father. Does it mean that his name is everlasting Father? No, it doesn't. But that name that is attached to the name that you don't know becomes the embodiment of who he represents and the end result of what his purpose is for his people. He shall bring everlasting life to his people. Israel shall be saved in the Lord. They shall not be confounded nor ashamed. They shall have an everlasting salvation in a world without end. His name shall be called Everlasting Father. It brings us in contact with another facet of his greatness and his glory. You see? So, and that's kind of how it is. On his thigh was written the name King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Does it mean his name was King of Kings and Lord of Lords? No, it doesn't. But the name that was attached to the name that we knew not became the embodiment of who he was and what he represented. He became the King of all kings and Lord of all lords, puts us in contact with his greatness. And so don't get hung up on that name stuff. Exodus, let's see if we can get it. Let's pull it up. Exodus chapter 3, verse 6. Let's see if we can pull it up. Okay, that's not it. It's going to be 6 and 3 then. Exodus chapter 6, verse 3. Now, see, I'm telling you, see, what we're doing is we minimizing things for us to argue about and things for us to throw rocks at each other about. Let's look at what Exodus chapter 6, verse 3 said. And I appeared unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by the name of God Almighty. But my name was not known to them. You see, he said, I appeared to them by this name, by God Almighty. He said, but my name was totally incomprehensible. So the only way that anybody can comprehend my name or my son's name is that I have to put names on their name that the people can identify with. Let's go look at another one before we end this part out here, but I want to make it clear. What is his name and his son's name, if you know? This is going to come out of Proverbs chapter 30, verse 4. Here was a question. Solomon was the wisest king on the planet. Okay? Outside of our father Enoch, who was translated, there was no person on earth that ever possessed the knowledge that Solomon possessed. And Solomon posed the question. Yeah, okay, Andre. I'm not saying that you're arguing, but the thing that you open up is good that it opened up because it helps somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So I just say no. So just listen. It said, who had ascended up into heaven, or who had descended, who had gathered the wind in his fist, who had bound the waters in the garment, who had established the ends of the earth? He asked all of these questions. Who have done these things on the earth? This is what he's asking to the people. Who have done these things on the earth? This is before the Messiah even got here. Yet Solomon possesses a wisdom, because the Most High gave him wisdom of all things. He gave him the wisdom of the moon, of the stars, of the wind, of the heavens. He gave him all that wisdom. And at the end, he said, what is his name? And what is his son's name? If you can tell. You see, the question was being asked because out of all the wisdom that he possessed, he didn't even possess the name of the Most High and the Son. And he said, if anybody think that they're wiser than me, let them answer this question that I don't know. What is his name and what is his son's name, if you know? And so, and one of the things that we say is that he who swear by the name of the Most High is esteemed worse than a perjurer and cannot be believed because he's swearing by the name of the Most High. First of all, he don't understand these principles. And second of all, anything that you got to do where you got to put God's name on top of it, you understand what I'm saying? Then you can best believe that it's false. Because if you're genuinely doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing, you don't have to mention God's name, because your acts and your works become the embodiment of the thing that the Most High has instructed you to do. And so literally what happens is that your works begin to speak for you, and you don't have to speak through your mouth. And Brother Andre Howard, thank you for bringing that that to the forefront, because we still got. These are some of the things that we go through when we're young, when we're coming up. Let me cut this oven off. When we're young and when we're coming up and when we're learning things, we be excited about stuff. And these are some of these fights. They'll continue to happen as younger brothers come in and glean information. So for those that's on looking and watching, yes, he was. Yes, he was. All Israelites were Africans. Yep. Yep. All Israelites were Africans. Yep. Yep. So, yeah, so what else we got? Anybody else got anything they want to open up? Preferably, I'd like to hear something open up that's going to help us be able to walk a little bit sharper in this 21st century. Yeah, so, yeah, well, that's all good. All praises to the Most High, Andre. Yeah, hang in there and keep on doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? And anytime you have an opportunity to minimize a disagreement or get out of the way of somebody that's wielding a sword, trying to impress somebody, you do that. Your time is too valuable. Oh, none of us know when the Most High gonna take our breath away. We do know our breath is gonna get taken away from us one day. So we want to make sure that we trying to maximize, you know, what it is that we doing. Grant, ain't none of us perfect. We all have shortcomings. You know, now we can look at that as the word, but the reality is that all of us are living life, and then we got sin factors in our life. We trying to climb over certain hurdles. Ezekiel 46:1. Let's go see what we got there. Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1. Let's see. Ezekiel. Thus said the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looked toward the east shall be shut with 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened. And I don't have to read the totality of this. And the prince shall enter by the way of the porch of that gate without, and shall stand by the post of the gate. And the priest shall prepare his burnt offerings, his peace offerings, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go forth, but the gate shall not be shut until evening. I'm not really, I'm really not going to do too much speaking on that. I can give you my opinion of what I think that it means or what I think that it's saying. But I'd rather not do that because I really need to read the whole thing in the fullness of its context to get a good understanding. But just for the most part, we'll read the scripture again. Thus said the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looked toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be open, and in the day of the new moon it shall be open. Well, we do know this, that whatever it is dealing with the laws that's pertaining to the Sabbath. So, I can't elaborate no farther on that. I don't want, Most High going to bring me in accountability for every idle word that's spoken. So, if I can't give you a solid answer and explanation for that one verse of scripture, then I can't do it. So, maybe in the days to come that I can go through there and I can read the entire chapter and try to glean the fullness of what's being said, and then I can come back at you, Brother Bobby Bush, and then we can pick up from there. All praises to the Most High, Heavenly Father. Anybody got anything else? Video gonna pause for 1 second. Okay. Apologize for that. Let's see. Okay. So, Sister Laverne, we ain't doing nothing. We just chopping up. We just going over some Q&A, some questions and answers. Okay, Erica Eric Abrams, I can elaborate on this one, brother. Under the 6 days we work as men, the Spirit enters us and the inner gates are open.
And nobody.
That's a good spiritual explanation.
Got no more than the next.
Like I said, I try to stay away from things that I don't have no knowledge on, you know. And it's not that the knowledge ain't. That's another reason why these things right here are good, because they help to keep me sharp too. Some of these things that come across here, you know, when I can't answer something, you know what they do? The Most High say, okay, there's your assignment. Now you go find out and you go learn about it, because somebody gonna answer it again. So yeah. Can I ask y'all, what do y'all think about the fallen angels and the hybrids they are doing now in Japan? What do y'all think about the Book of Enoch? Well, you know, the Book of Enoch is, is for the final generation. He said it's for the final generation. That's how he opened it up. He said this is the prophecies of Enoch. He said he coming with 10,000s and 10,000s and thousands of thousands riding in the clouds with his saints. He said to judge the world. But this is for a distant generation, way in the future. Then the Messiah came along and told us, he said, now as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Now you have to understand that what it was in the days of Noah was Enoch's grandson. Okay? Enoch gave birth to Methuselah, and then Methuselah gave birth to Jared, and then Jared gave birth to Noah. And in Noah's day, the fallen ones was already on the earth. They were already on the earth in the fallen in the fallen's days. They were in Noah's days. The fallen ones was already here. So Noah was when Noah was born in the book of Enoch. It said when Noah was born, immediately when he came out the womb, he stood straight up and he conversed with the Most High. He said his face was like the radiance of the sun, and his eyes was like beams of light. He said his father Jared was so afraid that he ran out the house and went to his father Methuselah and said, Methuselah, he said, Father, I have given birth to a child, but this child cannot be mine because he looks like one of the angels. Now, he has the resemblance of an angel because he is born without pigmentation. Noah is the first albino on the earth. And so when Methuselah said, well, I'm going to go to my father, Enoch. My father, Enoch, my son have had a child, my grandson. Enoch said, go back and tell Jared that this is indeed his son. He said his son shall be the start of creation all over again. Tell Noah to hide himself in the earth. And the Most High going to use him to start the world all over again. Well, it didn't mean that Noah literally went and hid. It meant that the Most High, when he birthed him into existence, he was birthed unlike the rest of his people. And he looked like the fallen ones because when the fallen ones left their habitat, they were disrobed. That means that they lost their pigmentation and their color. And Noah looked just like them. So Noah, being a child, even growing into manhood, he was perfect. He was found perfect in his genes, and he was not corrupt and contaminated with that of the fallen because they thought Noah was one of them. You see? So, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Messiah returned. He said, what was it like? They were eating, they were drinking, they were giving in marriage, and they were being married. He said, and then the flood came. But you have to understand, what was they eating and drinking? When the giants had consumed all the acquisitions of men, they turned on the men. After they had ate up all of the cattle and all of the things that sustained men, he said, then they turned on the men. They began to eat the men's flesh and drink their blood. In the days of Noah, they were eating and they were drinking. In the days of Noah, it will be like this. So we have cannibalism on the rise. 300,000 babies or 300,000 children a year are kidnapped from this country every year so that they can become food for those that will follow these ways. They were eating and they were drinking. They were drinking the blood. You see people talking more now about drinking blood and eating human flesh on social media and on YouTube now more than ever. As the days of Noah, they was eating, they were being married and they were given in marriage. Well, when the sons of the Most High seen that the daughters of men were fair, they lusted after them, and then they took to themselves wives. They married them, and then they went in them, and they produced an unnatural offspring on the earth. So what were they doing? The women, the sons, they were marrying spiritual beings that came from another dimension. And those spiritual beings, as their offspring came, he said, and they taught their sons. They taught their sons how to make weapons of war. They taught their sons how to make makeup and lipstick and eyeshadow, how to extract the metals from the earth. They taught them antimony. They taught them the cutting the roots, how to make drugs, how to make hallucinogenics. They taught them how to make pharmaceuticals. They taught their sons and their daughters the astrology of the moon and the stars. They taught them how to control the weather. So you have HARP now. They're still teaching the advanced knowledge that you got HARP now able to control the weather, and they're doing weather warfare. He said they're taught their sons and their daughters how to cast spells through the religious constructs and institutions of this world. Satan is behind the scene using men to cast spells on other men through religious organizations and religiosity. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the sons of men. They were able, he said, when they consume all the acquisitions of men, they turned on the men, began to eat their flesh and drink their blood, and then they turned themselves and begin to defile themselves with nature. So they begin to defile themselves with the beast, as it was in the days of Noah. Now they're splicing the genetic pattern of the human race and mixing it with that of the beast. They're splicing the beast and mixing it with that of other beasts that are outside of that particular habitat. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of coming of the Son of Man. And we're in those days right now. Our praises to the Most High Heavenly Father. Yes, they were. The watchers weren't the watchers, the angels that were supposed to help, but they lusted. Yes, they were. There were 200 angels that ascended upon Mount Hermon, and those angels were to be the overseers of humanity, because the angels, we were made a little lower than the angels, but yet the Most High created the angels to serve us. When we start looking in the first book of Adam and Eve, we can understand that the angels were there to serve and to help Adam and Eve, and even when they fell into sin. It was a great disappointment. Our father Adam, he said, I remember when we used to be able to see the angels, and the angels used to help us with whatever we need help. And now we have sinned against the Most High, and now we can no longer see the angels. We don't no longer know where our help is coming from. And that's how Satan was able to keep on deceiving Adam and Eve over and over and over again, because he kept coming to them in the form of an angel that they once used to be able to see and lay eyes on. So the angels were. The angels were. And that's when we start looking at the same gospel of peace, when we start talking about Hamashiach coming back to put us back in contact with what our forefather Adam had understood. That is why the Most High said, you understand this, what your father Adam understands, that even though I created the world and I put you in it, he said, I appointed angels. I gave them jurisdictional authority over the elements in the world. I gave the angels the authority over the sun that hung in the sky, over the stars in the sky. I gave them the authority over the clouds, over the wind, over the rain, over the snow, over the air that you breathe, over the water. He says, so when you start understanding understanding and going back to where our father Adam was in the garden, you understand I have given you these angels who control these things as a means to assist and help us. Therefore, when you get up, you give me praise and you give me glory, but you go and commune with the angel who has the power over the sun that gives life to all creation. You commune and talk to the angel of the air who's responsible for you being able to breathe in oxygen on a daily basis. You commune with the angel that I give him power over the water that only cleanses your inside, but also cleanses and bathes your outside and brings you into a place of righteousness. He said, I've given you power over all of these things through the angels. And that was the angels' responsibility. And those angels, they fell. But just because they failed, that did not take away the service and the protection that the Most High had given us that comes from angels. Even in your New Testament, you see your beloved brother Paul said, and likewise some have entertained angels and unaware of it. That's because when Adam and Eve fell into sin, they lost their spiritual eyesight. They used to be able to see the angels. They used to be able to commune with the angels on a regular basis, but they were no longer able to see those spiritual things anymore. They died spiritually, and we are dead spiritually because our eyes have been darkened, so we can no longer see those angels. But just because we can't see them does not mean that they're not there. Yeah. Well, I'm open to look at anything you got, brother. There is much things to be learned, but one thing that I keep stressing over and over again, if this information ain't helping you to be able to detach yourself from a dead book and put your energy into the place where everything is living and have life, it won't help you. It won't add no righteousness to you. It won't add no righteousness to you, because your righteousness is only going to come by way of living by those things that you are learning. So I thought I'd throw that in there, interject that in there right quick, and get that out the way. No, you don't have no need to be scared of angels. And there's a difference between angels and demons. What's the difference between an angel and a demon? I tell you, when the fallen angels produced the abnormal race of people, they said there were giants in the earth. They were men of old. They were men of renown. They were men of old because they had advanced knowledge that came from another dimension. They were men of renown because they were great in stature. Okay? So when you start talking about, do you need to be afraid of angels? Of course not. The angels was put here for you.
Oh, yeah.
You see? When the Most High made the world and put man in there, he sent his angels to be stewards and to be stewards over his creation, the man, and to help him with the things that he needed. However, one thing we need to be afraid of is demons. And demons come as a result that when those men of great stature lost their bodies, they couldn't die because they were heavenly and angelic beings. They couldn't go down in the earth because they were of the earth, and they couldn't go back to heaven because they was of heaven. So their curse was to be stuck between earth and heaven without a body. And so a demon is a disembodied spirit that has passions and feel things that he cannot carry out because he don't have no body. And that is the part where we need to be afraid of, because a demon is looking for a body he can occupy so that he can carry out the passions and the lust and all of the things that he feel. And let the truth be told, baby, them demons jump in us, boy, and they carry out some things. It's some sin in your life that you don't want to give up. It's some things that you don't want to turn away from. It's a demon behind the inhaling of cigarette smoke, or the smoking the weed, the smoking the crack, the drinking. It's a demon behind the lust factor, because all of those things are pleasurable to the body. And these are the things that the demon feel, but he can't carry them out because he don't have no body. And he can only carry them out when he can find somebody that will yield themselves and allow him to use their body for a little while. Not only do it feel good to the demon, but it feels good to us. That's why when we get entangled in these things, it's so hard for us to get out of them. All praises. Yeah. Well, you know what the book say. It's more ways that you can poison the body than what you put in the mouth. Because book, what goes in the mouth is not what defile the man. It's not what poison him. Everything that go in the mouth, he going to come out tomorrow when he take a dump. Okay, you get drunk today, you lay down, you go to sleep, you wake up sober. That liquor that you drank yesterday, it don't have no effect on you. But if you're an angry person in your spirit, hey, that's the poison. If you bitter in your spirit, that's poison. If you unforgiving in your spirit, that's poison. If you secretly, excitedly hating or trying to strategically, see, that's poison right there. So we don't know the difference. We're not saying that what you put in your mouth ain't wrong. Yeah, if you can avoid it, avoid it. But there are far more greater things that's going to come out of the mouth that are far more poisonous than things that will dissolve in our digestive tract. All praises, BC, Brother Clark. You got anybody else got anything they want to bring to the forefront? Anybody else got anything they want to bring to the forefront? The cell transmitted intelligence. Yep, that's what it is. And you look at it right now. Shoot, man, I'm telling you. That's why, then people don't understand. That's why, listen, Genesis chapter 5. This is the book of the generations. Genesis chapter 10. This is the book of the generations. Matthew chapter 1. This is the book of the generations. And every time it gives you a list of the generations, it's dealing with the generations come from the word gene, where we get the word genealogy from. And Noah was perfect in his genealogy. His genes hadn't been tampered with. And so everything that they're doing now is to tamper with the genetics of the human race, so that they'll cease to be what the Most High created them to be. So you got nanotechnology. You got black goo. You got all of these different things that they putting in food, and all these things, that the particles that they spraying in the air that we breathe in on a daily basis. All of these things are designed to start tampering with the genetics of the people on the earth. And it's the Messiah know it, because he penned in the scripture, if he didn't come back and shorten the days, there would be no flesh spared. You know what that's saying? If I don't come back and shorten the time, Satan will kill every human being on this earth. And he building hybrids that are not human, and robotic technology that is not human. And these things will be used as a destructive force against the creation that the Most High created. That's why I don't harp on racism. I don't harp on white people. I don't care nothing about the Arab man, the Hamite man, the African man, the Israelite man, the Christian man. None of that nonsense, because all of those things are distractions to distract you from what's really happening. Satan's plan is to destroy the whole of creation, the whole of humanity, the things that the Most High had created. And the Messiah said, if I didn't come back and shorten the time, there would not be not one human being left. Them robots would be done killed them all. They'd be done poisoned them all. They'd be done changed the genetic DNA of them all to the point to where they no longer human. This is what's happening in the world today. How you going to stay in contact with what's happening in the world today when you stuck in the desert? You still talking about Samuel the prophet and Ezekiel the prophet, and you still talking about coming through the Red Sea and what they did in Egypt. That stuff don't bring no righteousness into your life. It don't teach you how to walk in this hour. You can't do that. You can't live by what your forefathers was living for. If that was the case, well, I'll be riding around on chariots with horses in the front of them. You somebody pull up in front of your house with a chariot with a horse talking about, come on, boy, I'm going to take you to the store. You'll be scared to death because you ain't never seen no chariot. No, you don't know how to ride it. You don't know how to nothing. But at the same time, you'll reject that, us bringing that part of the old days up into your 21st century. But at the same time, you want to bring everybody from the 21st century and take them back in the desert. And it's a double mind. It's a form of double-mindedness, and you can't do that. Yep. So, so that's what it is, brothers and sisters. Shalom, Elder. I hope I don't take us too far off the topic. Can you elaborate on forgiveness concerning loving your enemy. Okay, I got two scriptures for you. One gonna come out of the book of Ecclesiastes. Trust not. No. One gonna come out of Ecclesiastes. Trust not thy enemy, for as iron rusts, so does his wickedness. That's going to come out of Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 10. This is the first thing. And we got to put these two scriptures together to bring some understanding. It says, never trust your enemy, for like as iron rusts, so does his wickedness. You can't trust your enemy. But now let's look at another one, because it's going to seem like it contradicts itself, but we'll put it in its proper place. It has been said of them of old, hate your enemies, but I tell you to love your enemies. Okay, this is going to come out of Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. Okay, now he was saying, you heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. I tell you that you love. He say, let me see. Let me get the whole. It just pulled up one verse, so let me get to the whole thing. Matthew 5th chapter. Now, this is verse 43. You have heard that have been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and he sendeth his rain on the just and the unjust. And basically what he's saying is that when you start talking about living out what you know, you have to live in a world of people that don't see things like you, they ain't learned like you, and they have different mindsets, okay? And the Most High, he blesses them just like he blessed anybody else. So he's saying it was a time that when we was dealing with certain laws, he said, you heard it said that love your neighbors, but hate your enemies. He said, but I'm saying unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. And it said, bless them that curse you, and do good to them that hate you, and pray for them who despitefully use you. You know why? Because he is speaking to the disciples based on what their purpose is in the world. Their purpose was to be intercessors for a world of people that didn't know the Father. And there would be enemies because they didn't understand the culture and the cultural differences, and they didn't understand the purpose of the Israelites. So you would have enemies. He said, but you know what? You got to love your enemy, and you going to do good to them that don't express the same thing, and you're going to pray for them that's despitefully doing it. It ain't many people out here that can go into their closet and start interceding on behalf of the racist, white, left, right-wing, race nationalist, Ku Klux Klan, Donald Trump loving. It ain't many Israelite brothers that's going to be willing to bet that they can go in their closet and they can stretch their hand to the Most High and start weeping and crying and interceding on behalf of them people. Oh, Father, that you wouldn't destroy them. Oh, that you'll have mercy on them. Oh, I'm praying for them. Oh, I know they still trying to systematically trap me up. Oh, but this is what the Messiah said. He said, and you ain't doing it because you like it, and you ain't doing it because they're not wrong. You doing it that you may make manifest in the world a people that the world have never seen, operating by the power of the Most High. So, on one end, you don't trust people, but you're not doing things because you trust them. You're doing these things because you trust the Most High. He said, you ain't got to worry about trusting your enemies. You just trust me. You praying for him. They despitefully you. You know what? But you don't trust them because you know what? Like iron rust, so is his wickedness. He going to turn around and do the same thing tomorrow. But when he do turn around and do the same thing tomorrow, you're not affected by it because you never put your trust in him and became vulnerable to them in that manner where they can do you like that again. The only reason why you ain't slapped the taste out of their mouth is because the Most High told you to do something different. And that's how you have to operate according to that. Yep. So now you ain't took nothing too far. That was one that needed to come out. Because as I said, we got a lot of brothers out here claiming Israelite heritage, Christianity and all that, but they still have hate. Oh, they love their people, but they still have hate for the people that put us in slavery, for the people that's oppressing us. They still have hate when they see a cop killing and all that going on, and you don't understand that you're going in opposition to what the Messiah do. Now, if you're going to do your own thing, then it ain't no room for his power to manifest itself. So, in order for his power to manifest itself, now, let me put one more thing on top of that, because it's not always an easy thing to do. So we want to encourage brothers and sisters to be able to do the undoable, knowing that the Most High going to see everything. The book of Nahum, first chapter. Some things just can't. I said Nahum, it said night home. All right, so let me give you this for your encouragement. Anybody that's having a problem forgiving their enemies, for loving their enemies, anybody that's having a problem with that, let me show you why when you yield yourself to what the Most High is instructing us to do, then we reap the results. It says, this is the burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum, the Elkoshite. God is jealous. The Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he will reserve wrath for his enemies. Though the Lord is slow to anger, he is great in power, and he will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm and in the clouds or the dust of his feet. So the Most High is fighting for us on our behalf in many different ways. He said he is in no way going to ever acquit the wicked for the things that they have done. And many times the Most High's judgment is in the earth on behalf of our enemies and the things that are being done to us, and we don't even realize it. So he says that he has his way in the whirlwind. Every time you see a tsunami, a hurricane, every time you see a tornado, you understand that that's the Most High bringing his wrath on the wicked. His wrath has been reserved for them, and those that it happened to, this is his way of saying, I know what they've been doing for centuries, but I ain't gonna no way acquit them. But when I get ready to start destroying them, this is how I'm gonna do it. Every time you see a tornado sweep through the neighborhood, you know that, because that whirlwind, I have my way in that whirlwind, and the clouds are the dust of my feet. Every time you see a tornado and it's blowing up dust and blowing up cloud, know that that's the Most High walking through that neighborhood, walking through that community, walking through that city, not acquitting, bringing wrath on the wicked that have dealt treacherously with his people, that are being praying for them constantly. So I hope that puts you in a good place. I hope that puts you in a good place. Yep, I hope that puts you in a good place. You say you pray for your enemies, and then you turn them over to the Most High. He'll deal with them. That's how you do that. But you go and try to do war and do battle with your enemies, then you don't understand that when you don't get the results that you want to get, then you find it's because you didn't let the Most High. You can't do to your enemies. You can't destroy your enemies. You see, when the Most High get ready to do something, he utterly destroys the enemy. He don't conquer enemies. He destroy them. When you conquer somebody, they can come back on you. But when you destroy it, it ain't no way. So let the Most High do that. You do what he told you and pray for him. That's how you do that there. Anybody got anything else? Anybody got anything else? We got King Rashard on the line. Anybody got anything else? Well, I guess we didn't get nothing off, so all of the people that didn't want to receive the fact that I stole their rocks, they didn't want to come on here and they didn't want to come over here and deal with that. But what do you expect? Christmas is gone, but guess what? New Year's is coming up this week, so they'll be right back on there. Y'all mark my word. Mark my word. And while those is on the thread, People say, well, we supposed to stand for righteousness. How about you let that righteousness just stand in your own life and give the next man the opportunity to live his life without you meddling with him? This is what I tell people about they posts and putting out all this different stuff about the paganistic holidays. Well, I'm supposed to stand for righteousness. You ain't standing for righteousness not long as you looking at what your brother doing. You How about you put that righteousness in your own life and then just go on and walk by that, and then you give your brother the same opportunity to do the same thing. So anybody that's out there doing that nonsense in this next following week coming up, and it's gonna get pretty practice. So this is my video season right here, cause I had Thanksgiving, I got Christmas. Oh, now I got New Year's coming up. After that, I got Valentine's Day coming up. Then I got Easter coming up after that. Oh, I'll be making videos back to back all day long, all day long, all day long. Taking people's rocks. Taking people's rocks. Taking people's rocks. Because if you ain't doing it in your own life, you ain't got no business worrying about nobody else, what they doing. That's what it is. So, anybody got anything else? Anybody got anything else? Well, I guess we got it all together then. Yep. So it's all praises to the Most High Heavenly Father and His glorious Son. Thank for the Ruach Hakodesh. And you know what? I tell you, I had this clip, and I was this thing that I'll do another video on it. But for now, all praises. Hope everybody having a good day. Y'all got anything else? Got anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Well, you know, that's what it is. You know, you don't trust your enemies, but you don't allow what they doing to rub off on you neither. And that's the whole purpose for it. Because spirits leap and they hop. And it don't make no difference whether it's a righteous spirit. A righteous spirit can hop on another man and he can start walking in righteousness. And a wicked spirit can hop on another man and he can start operating in wickedness. So sometimes, Netanyahu, sometimes the best thing for you to do is walk away. Just walk on the way, and while you're walking away, just be praying to the Most High. Most High, please help them to see. Help them to see. I done prayed for people all the time. I say, you know what? Oh, Most High, please help this brother to understand. Please help him to understand. Help him to understand how close he is to his life being ended. Help him understand that while they trying to fight me, they don't know that I got a pistol on my hip and I could just blow their brains out. But help them, and I pray for them that you continue to bless me. Give me the strength to walk away. Give me the strength to stand down. You know what I mean? And while people talking to you like anything, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? And then you know what, you can just pull that thing out and just put the barrel in their mouth and do that. You have to be in prayer for your enemies lest you become like him. So, and it's not easy. But you show me anybody that can light a live barbecue grill and with blazing fire on it, blazing just freshly lit. You show me any animal that'll be willing to just go out there and climb up on it. Because you're talking about our forefathers sacrificed animals to the Lord. The Most High want us to sacrifice ourselves to him. But the same way, an animal couldn't climb up on the altar because it was burning and flaming and feeling that heat and just, well, what do you expect it to be for us? Because that's what the Most High is asking us to do when he asks us to sacrifice our life. You talking about dying, you know what I mean? You talking about, hey, boy, I need you to climb up on this barbecue pit on your own. On your own. I don't need nobody coming to help throw you up there, but I need you to muster up enough strength and enough trust and faith in me to where you can climb up there on your own. And that's not easy to do. That is not easy to do. And you talking about, well, I'm Israel, everybody Israel. Show me how many of us Israelites can climb up on a hot barbecue grill on our own. Yep, so Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what that is. Yeah, that's what prayer do. That's what prayer do, Mahaya. That's what prayer does. Break down the Sabbath. Let's see here. Let's break down the Sabbath. And let's use the scripture in the right, proper place. Cry aloud and spare not. I tell you, the Sabbath is more in there than people think. And when you really see what the Sabbath entails, you see just how many of us ain't keeping it and how difficult it is to keep. Let's see, I need to go Isaiah 58. Cry aloud and spare not, and show my people their transgression and their sin. Now, okay. Now, here's the Sabbath right here. If you'll turn away your foot on the Sabbath from doing your own pleasure. Stop right there. When you start talking about doing your own pleasure, you got to take a look on the inside at the things that you like to do. There are many things that we do on a regular basis throughout the course of the week that are pleasurable to us. You see? I go to work. I get off. It's a pleasurable thing. I want my car clean. Go clean my ride up, ride around. If you withdraw your foot from doing your own pleasure, I come home. It's good. I sit down, get the remote control, click the TV on, go watch the game, watch a movie. Pleasurable thing to me, right? Go get me a glass of wine, maybe pour me a strong drink, a little Hennessy and Coke, a little Jack and Coke or something. Light me up a cigarette. It's pleasurable. I ain't sinning. Those are things that are pleasurable to me. Alright, it's cool, That's what's up, phone ring. That's Cuz, that's my boy. What it do, Cuz? What it do? Man, what's going on? Man, it's good, man. I ain't just dissecting this word, dissecting this. Them are pleasurable things. Pleasure? Hey, baby, how you doing? Give me a hug. Some sugar. Oh, baby, you gonna let me hit that thing? We're gonna do our, make some. If thou will turn your foot away from doing thy pleasure on the Sabbath, on my holy day, and thou shalt call the Sabbath a delight. You see, the Sabbath is really all about giving up the pleasure. It ain't talking about just the work. You see, the Most High relieved us from a day of work because the body needs rest. But he's talking about while you enter into that rest, that also is dealing with you ceasing from anything pleasurable, because we need rest from the pleasurable things that we do too, so that our spirit can be replenished. All of the things that are dealing with pleasure affecting our flesh. But when we release ourselves from the pleasurable things, now we can get into the spirit. When I don't have no TV on, it's quiet. I ain't listening to King Moshe and Daoud Beloved, because that's pleasure. It's quiet. My spirit is tuned in. I can hear. You see? I ain't fooling with my wife. It's the Sabbath. I'm resting. I'm denouncing my pleasure. I ain't smoking on my cigarettes. I'm took my blunt to the side. I ain't drinking on no wine, because all of those pleasurable things affect my flesh. And Most High said, if you will refrain and keep your foot from doing your own pleasure and the things that you love, and you will give those things up and call my Sabbath, my holy day, a delight. He said, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and you shall honor him by not doing your own ways, nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thy own words. So anything come in my mind that I desire to do, I don't do. Anything that's pleasurable to me, I don't do. Man, I think I'm going to call such and such. I desire to do it, I don't do it. He said, and even speaking my own words. The reason why I ain't going to call nobody is because if I call somebody, I got to say, hey, hello, how you doing? And I got to use my own words to do it. He said, but if every time you open up your mouth, the only words that come out is my words. This is what he say. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and I will feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Most High have spoken it. Many of us, we think that the Sabbath is just about, well, I ain't going to work on the Sabbath. Well, when I finally got to the place to where I conquered not working on Saturday, because I've been a hairstylist and self-employed all my life, Saturday was always my most busiest day. But man, it was hard just to conquer not working on the Sabbath. Because if I missed them people on Saturday, chances are they wasn't going to come on Sunday. Those people were used to having Sunday as their Sabbath. Because we all were. Sunday was a day that we didn't do too much. Sunday was a day that you chilled, you rest. But Saturday was the day that you got everything done. And I had to give that up, man. I just thought that ain't nowhere in the world I'm going to survive if you make me miss out on all my Saturday money. But it was a test, and it was difficult. But I had to be gave up. And I thought that was in. I had arrived. No, I didn't know that wasn't nothing. He said, that wasn't nothing. You ain't seen nothing of what I'm really requiring for you on the Sabbath yet. You just, but I'm going to walk with you gently. I'll let you find out these things as you go along. And so as I go along, I said, hold on, wait a minute. What do we mean, my own pleasure? That means, you know what? You like to watch TV. You like listening to the music. You like jumping in your car, just riding up and down the highway, just to reflect. You like that. You like being sexual and loving with your wife. You like those things. You like to have your drink, a glass of wine. You like to smoke your cigarette. You like these things. You got to give those things up because they are part of my Sabbath too. I let you practice with the money because that seemed to be the most important thing in your life. But now I'm challenging you to something greater. So, you know, one of the ways I start dealing with the Sabbath, I felt the best way that I could deal with the Sabbath is to not to even get out of bed. I just sleep all day. And I'll wake up and I'll eat. And then I'll go back to sleep. Because, I mean, what good is it? If I woke up, I wanted to watch some TV. If I woke up, I had to talk to somebody. If I woke up, I had to do something. So if I was trying to honor it, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you the honest to God truth, it ain't that much success in keeping the Sabbath. I mean, every now and then you may be able to keep the Sabbath in the way that the Most High instruct us to do. But the vast majority of people ain't keeping no Sabbath. If you was keeping the Sabbath, there wouldn't be nobody on Facebook. Facebook will go out of business. If you was keeping the Sabbath, the local gas stations and grocery stores would be suffering real bad if you was keeping the Sabbath. If we was really keeping the Sabbath, there are a whole lot of areas that would be suffering greatly, you know, but a lot of times we don't know. But since you asked me to break that down, I think you just used me to open up a can of worms for a lot of other people. All praises to the Most High. Y'all answer Israel. Yep. They've been treating melanated children like that since the beginning of time. And what that's telling you, what that's telling us, is that anytime, you know what, we put our children in the hands of enemies, of our enemies. You see? And so it's like we have to start directing our energy and our prayer life and everything else into some other areas to where I don't have to send my children to be mistreated by you. But that's going to be something that we as a people have to collectively come together and do. And the vast majority of our people are pulling their children out of schools, out of daycares, out of all of these different places where they have to deal with these people. But for our brothers and sisters, okay, you got to use your prayer life and use your energy in a greater way now. Because you can't say, well, I got to work. I got to go to work. And I just can't see. You got to start praying about it then and let the Most High open up something, okay? If you have to open up another job, you open up a job where you can work at home, where you can have some freedom or whatever. But this is something that we have to do as a people. Because if we put our children in the hands of our enemies, what in the world do we expect to happen to them? Yeah, so yep, so let's just hang in there, hang in there. What we got going on? What we got going on? Who else we got? We got anybody else on the line? Anybody else on the horn want to bring something to the forefront? All praise that y'all land here is real. All praise to the Most High Heavenly Father's glorious Son's Ruach HaKodesh that leads us and guides us in ways of truth and bring all things to our remembrance. All praise. Yeah, anybody else got anything they want to bring to the forefront? Bring to the forefront. See, it's so much stuff that's contained in the Father's Word. You know, I think a lot of times we do ourselves injustice because we get high-minded, as though we have arrived at the grand sum total. And there is some stuff that we can pull out in the Word. See, people that have been in the Word for a long time, they understand the struggles because they understand what they themselves have been faced with over the years. But we also know, that's how we know how to deal with people, how to be merciful to people, how to be kind with people, how to be patient with people. That's what I learned. I know that I've probably been in the Word and in the Scripture on a consistent basis for far more, many years than a lot of brothers and sisters that be on these pages, but that is how that's what the things that I've learned how to deal with people. Because when I look at my life up against the Father's righteousness and see how much I had a desire and still end up in failure, like with that Sabbath, you desiring to keep it and you still end up in failure. Most High have compassion. He got mercy on you, and He said, "Listen, you go do likewise to your brothers and your sisters. Just because you see them falling, there's no right for you to. You have to be what I've been to you." You know what I mean? But many times, our brothers, as we start learning, we don't know the grand totality of the Father's will, and we are being hard on people, and you don't even understand. You don't understand nothing but a fraction of the book. It's this much more of the book that you are standing in complete opposition against simply because you don't know it. But you, on the other hand, might be dealing with your brother harshly. You see? And that's a dangerous place to be in. Dangerous place to be in. So all praise to the Most High Heavenly Father's glorious Son. We're going to end the video right there. Shalom.